Can I get a rah-rah? Is she in the room? Hello? Welcome to another episode of America Needs to Know TV. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Adams, your host. I'm here today with a colleague that has some interesting books that he'd like to share with us. His name is Mr. Rey King. He does animated cartoons of strange news. Now, you already know that Elizabeth Adams, the show America Needs to Know TV, is about real news, real people, and real topics. But what we bring to you today is only, and how can I say it? Just open your imagination. What Rey is bringing to the table is going to be an eye-opener. Rey, why don't you tell us about your new book?
Okay, my new book this is my newest book, Strangest Story Ever Told. This is book one out of a trilogy, and I worked on this for about 10 years. It's about Berkeley, about the San Francisco Bay Area, going back about 20 years, all the way into the 22nd century. So it's kind of like a science fiction story, but it's based on real things, real issues, very much about what's going on now.
Why don't you share with us some of the chapters and just give us a little inkling on it to get the public informed.
Whet their appetite?
I guess you could say that.
Well, I could mention that there's some controversial things in the book because it does have a lot to do with conspiracies going back.
You know what? And that word conspiracy, half the things that people talk about in the news today is not a conspiracy. What they really should say is unknown to the human ear and unknown to the human eye. Because everything that they're talking about, that they're saying are government conspiracies, are not conspiracies. These are things that are really happening, but people just don't believe it. Now, I would imagine that what you wrote in your book, The Strangest Story Ever Told, I would imagine just off the top of my head that I would say 50% of that stuff is true.
Oh,
I would not be surprised.
Easily, yeah, easily
okay.
50%. But I want to make sure that people understand that conspiracies do happen and they are verified. Like, for example, I would say one conspiracy that has been verified that's been suppressed is the conspiracy to kill President Lincoln. That's a verified conspiracy. The people that were responsible for that assassination were put on trial and they were executed, including a woman. And so, but do you see that in the school books?
No.
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 There's no mention of that at all, even though there was a movie made about that just recently.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Just in the last.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. But then I sort of focus on more recent conspiracies, like, for example, the conspiracy to kill President Kennedy, which there's still some questions as to what role Lee Harvey Oswald had in that. And we can pretty much assume that he did have some role in that, in that assassination. But there's a lot of evidence that there were other people involved. In fact, there was a government investigation into the assassination, and they did conclude that there was a conspiracy to kill Kennedy.
Yeah.
That you know about that?
Oh,
one.
definitely.
Yeah.
And what got Kennedy killed was the fact that he did not like the idea of secret societies. And because he was such a righteous and trustworthy man, he would not stand for or allow secret societies to prevail over the people of the United States.
That is so true. I have the audio recording of him talking about that. So that is verified. He was against secret societies, and he was definitely against the CIA. He threatened the CIA to tear him up into 1,000 pieces.
That's it. And if you think back into those days, that's when the CIA MK Ultra mind control programming was in its baby steps, because it began in 1955, and Kennedy was assassinated in
63.
I think it was 63.
Yeah.
So you know that was 8 years after the CIA mind control programming had began, and since then we have graduated to COINTELPRO, grain stalking surveillance, and directed energy weapons, bodies being targeted. You know, heart attacks, strokes, you know, at the blink of an eye. But because the strangest story ever told, people don't believe because it sounds strange. So, you know.
It's very strange. It's very strange because there's so many strange things going on that are unexplained and are being covered up. And every time we try to get the government to tell us to tell us the truth. You know, they come up with the most outrageous excuses and stories, and a good example of that is Roswell.
Oh, yes.
Roswell.
Wow. He went back on that one.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we're going back
to
what, 1947, I think that was. Yeah. Anyway, that's one of the things that's explored in the book. In the book, I try to I can't say that it's a fact, so I create a book that's fiction and put the information in there so that even though I can't prove everything that I'm saying, that I can at least get the information out. And so one of the central ideas of the book is that there are UFOs. The government has admitted that there are UFOs, although they haven't done it recently, but I do have the...
Of course not.
I have the footage.
They would never admit that recently.
Maybe I can splice it in here.
Right.
Since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports that have come to us from all kinds of sources. Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
That was back in the, I think that was in the mid-50s where they came up with that. But in my story, I wanted to say, to give the main focus is to let people know that not only there are UFOs, but if there are UFOs, then there has to be
people to man them.
Yeah,
exactly.
They have to be some kind of intelligent control.
Right.
So if there is at least one real UFO that is an actual intelligently controlled craft, then it's not too far of a stretch to think that they actually have landed here. And if they have landed here, then it's not too far of a stretch from there to think that maybe they have walked around and maybe they may even be here now.
They, you know, people are so naive these days. You know, it's like they're just going through life, you know, going through the motions of life. And everything that's round and about them, they really don't see. They really don't. I mean, you know, it's staring them in the face. And when someone like yourself or myself tries to tell them or inform them, you know, they're holding up their hand, talk to the hand. I don't know nothing about it, you know. let me step back from this, you know, and that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, well, I have a personal interest in this subject. You know, I put out this little mini flyer saying greetings to our visitors. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're here.
Yes.
Because as I told you a story a while back about when I was walking around and then I was this was in broad daylight, and I had a witness with me, and we saw someone that I thought may have been an actual alien. And my friend, he was non-committal about it, but he was very strange looking with ridges on his head, and was over 7 feet tall. But that wasn't even, as strange as that wasn't the strangest thing that I personally have experienced, which I could get into. I know we have limited time here.
Please come in. I have been granted the opportunity to introduce to you the exciting program you are about to see. Our program is called Strange News from Another World. It is based on the strangest story ever told. Graphic novel trilogy. To begin, we have selected this starship background and my face as a familiar launching point for a great adventure. I am not Spock. I am what my creators call the Zooid. I am a multi-dimensional alien life form here now to serve as your host and guide. I will reappear during this program in a variety of form, but they are all basically me. Of course, you may have wondered, what is this strange news that I speak of? To answer that question, a series of images and concepts will be presented to you on the screen you see before you. Shall we begin? First, allow some free time so that you can fully explore the interactive aspects of this program, which is linked online as the Universal Game.
But maybe on the next...
Well, we're going to be taping a couple of episodes with Mr. Ray. He has been very informative and working with America Needs to Know TV, bringing stories to the forefront that mainstream media refuses to do, because that would be giving the public too much true information. And as we already know, as American citizens, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. Just telling the truth is a revolutionary act. I mean, you know, so we can't get the truth from our government. We can't get the truth from our city officials. Heck, you can barely get the truth out of your school, out of your children's school teacher. Okay, so, you know, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act, and the things that Ray is bringing to the table are going to be subjects that we are going to cover on America Needs to Know TV. One thing I want to touch base on, Ray, if I may, is that back when the Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits came on TV back in the early 60s, one thing you have to think about, America, is that you can't create something without a concept. And alienation, you have to have something to work with to even bring the concept to life into an animated cartoon or into a book or whatever. It had to come from somewhere. And all the people who have stated in America, across the universe, who have stated they've seen UFOs, they've seen aliens, etc., etc., you guys better stop believing in your, well, I don't want to say stop believing in the government, but I am going to say start believing in your brother and your sister. Start listening to what they're saying. These people are not lying.
And not only that, for a Christian, it's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. Yes.
Ezekiel.
Yes.
The wheels within wheels. Not only that, what's an angel? What is an angel? An angel is a being from another place, not from Earth.
Right.
The theory is some aliens may be from other dimensions. So exactly what is heaven? That's another dimension from this earth.
Right, but that's a true dimension. The rest of them I don't know about.
Yeah, but see, that is a very strong argument that there are beings other than human beings that are intelligent and exist elsewhere other than on Earth.
Exactly. And one thing else that you want to keep in mind, you know, to those of you who are Christians and who are spiritually rooted, you know, when someone comes to you with something that you've never heard about or anything like that, Christians are generally speaking more apt to listening than the average human being. I mean, sincerely speaking, but at the same token, will they act upon what they hear? Total different story. Because I've talked with many of ministers throughout, actually, you know, throughout the Bay Area, and I can even say throughout the country, you know, that, you know, they believe, but they don't act, you know, and we have a problem. We got your reaction, but there is no solution because there is no communication. Without communication, between parties nationwide, we cannot find a solution. But, you know, the strangest story ever told by Mr. Rey King is a book that you may want to check out. And, you know, UFOs do exist. I'm Elizabeth Adams. I'm saying it here loud and clear. And the reason why I say they exist, because those people throughout the years who have went on TV, you know, who have written books about what they've seen, I believe in people. I am a people person. And these people are not lying. It is not, I mean, you're talking thousands of people, you know, nationwide and internationally. These people are not lying. And just like the MK Ultra victims and, you know, victims of COINTELPRO surveillance and directed energy weapons.
Just in the news, just yesterday.
Okay.
Did you hear about the Robert Kennedy assassination?
Sirhan? He was an MK Ultra victim.
Well, did you hear the latest news?
No, I didn't.
They want a retrial. His lawyer says, number one, the bullet that they used in evidence was switched. It's not the bullet that was in his gun.
Wow.
That's been verified. That bullet, it's just incredible.
Now that was just yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, now is something wrong with this picture? Last week, they brought up the Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood story. Remember? Yeah. Natalie Wood fell over the boat. They brought that up, and that was like 40-some years ago. Yeah. Now they're bringing up Sirhan.
Check this out.
I smell it. I smell a rat.
I smell a rat. You think the John F. Kennedy assassination was suspicious? Robert Kennedy is a slam dunk because they found 11 bullets scattered all around and in people and stuff. The guy didn't have 11 bullets in his gun, but they found bullets in the wall. They found bullets in people. Not only that, Sirhan was in front of Robert Kennedy. He was shot from behind at close range.
Right.
Sirhan was at least 3 feet in front of him. That's the film is there. You can see. But he was definitely shot behind. And guess what? When Robert Kennedy was shot, he turned, and as he turned, he grabbed a tie of the person behind him and jerked it off. It was a clip-on tie. Okay. You know who that person was?
Who?
It was the security guard behind him.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? That security guard admitted that he had a gun and that he pulled his gun out. But that gun has disappeared.
Wow. See, that's why you need to watch America Needs to Know TV, because this is real news, real people with real topics, and here you will get the truth. Now, when you listen to those other news programs, you know, I'm not going to name them, but...
Oh, you mean...
you mean the ones who elected Bush before all the votes were in? Do we know who that was? What news station was it that announced that President George Bush was elected to his second term as president and all the votes wasn't in? I'm not going to say their name because I don't want to get a case of slander.
Yeah.
You guys already know who it is.
Yeah, well, I could say it, but I want to move on, though, because...
We've got a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Okay, we on. Clap, clap. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
So, Ray, what possessed you to write the strangest story ever told?
Well, my concern is that we are in a very pivotal point in the history of humanity, in the history of civilization, that this is a time, you know that old curse, I think it's a Chinese curse, may you be born in interesting times.
Oh, that sounds...
Well, we're in those interesting times right now.
Okay.
And I believe that we are in the middle of a process that many call spiritual warfare. And this has been going on for quite some time now. Some people feel that it's been going on for 2,000 years. But I'm mainly concerned about what's happening right now in the 21st century. And there's a history of activities that I think are questionable and dangerous and should be brought to the public's attention. And there have been individuals who are drunk with power and apparently are possessed in a way that I can only describe as satanic.
Exactly.
And I don't claim to be a Christian, although I have been to many Christian churches, and I've been in the seminary studying for the priesthood. I've been through all this. I have been Protestant. I have been Catholic. I've been through all these different phases in my life in search for the truth. And I felt that if there was a place where I could go that the truth is, I go there. So I have, like in this little flyer here, we have a picture of these different people who I call spiritual pimps. Now, some of these people actually really aren't bad as individuals, but they use power. And when I say spiritual pimp, you know what a pimp is? A pimp controls the sexual activities of his followers or the people that he has control over. Traditionally, we think of a man and a woman, and the man is the pimp and so forth. But that isn't necessarily the way it is for a spiritual pimp. A spiritual pimp doesn't even have to touch you.
Exactly.
Because he controls your mind, your heart, and your soul. And so I go through this list of these different people. We have here Adolf Hitler. You know what Adolf Hitler did. He is the one that pushed that whole eugenics thing. Now, he didn't invent it. The United States of America invented eugenics.
Hello.
Here's another one, Sai Baba, who recently died. He was accused of child abuse. Jim Jones, he's notorious. He was known to stand up there in front of his whole congregation and tell them, if I could, I would have sex with everybody in the congregation. That's Jim Jones. Father Divine. Now, Father Divine I thought was cool because he was one of the few that didn't lose his mind. He kept his head together. He didn't really abuse anyone, but at the same time, he had total control over his flock. And when you give yourself your independence and all your thoughts to a person you call divine, that's getting into a shady area because you're creating a God out of a man. So and then we have Charles Manson. I don't even have to say much about him. Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary considered himself the continuation or the reincarnation of Aleister Crowley, who's the last one here. Aleister Crowley was called the wickedest man in the world when he was alive. And he did all sorts of things, but he had a great deal of power, and he was known as the greatest sorcerer of the 20th century. So Now, these are the ones we know. But I'm saying that the ones that are even more powerful than these people here are the ones we don't know. And then we could get into the whole Illuminati thing and so forth and so on, but
We are back for my exclusive interview with a man known as Mr. X. He has already revealed that he is a walk-in, or spirit that has taken the possession of the body of a famous and recently deceased media personality and political figure. During our break, members of the viewing audience have submitted questions. Some are of a personal nature, but you told me, during the break, that you will answer all questions to the best of your ability.
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. First question. Are you the Antichrist?
No, I am not. According to the Bible, only a member of the Christian church can become an Antichrist. I couldn't speak for the previous owner of this body, but I am not a member of any organized religion.
Okay, so you aren't a cult leader or Antichrist type. That leaves us with extraterrestrial secret societies, Satan worshipper or government agent. Any skeletons in your closet, Mr. X?
Well, I could crush you like a bug. But seriously, since we are all from the same source, perhaps I can share some of my insights into the question of who is really pulling the strings behind the curtain.
Oh, do tell.
Well, as you know, despite the economic meltdown of 2012, it was soon business as usual for years to come. But the public became aware of the true forces influencing human destiny, sentient beings more advanced than you or I.
Could you be more specific? I'm guessing little green men, angels, or just the old ascended masters?
After the triple terrorist attack on San Francisco, martial law was declared, and before the American people knew it, they were living in a virtual police state disguised as friendly fascism. All part of a global plan to bring about a computerized global order and culture. That was the dark side of the conspiracy.
Sounds like we're screwed.
Yes, some of us won't make it, but life goes on. The best advice I can give is to remember that life is a gift called the present.
If what you say is true, then you may be shot in the head as you leave this studio today. My research reveals that you predicted the great quake that occurred in the SF Bay Area a few years ago. The so-called quake of the century.
Yes, it's true. Just as I gave evidence that alien beings walk the streets of America unnoticed by most Americans. Big deal. It's an open secret now. I've moved on to bigger fish.
Okay, then. I think we are getting to the meat of this show. Stay tuned, folks.
One thing I want to share, and have been sharing for the last 3 years on America Needs to Know TV, is all about the MK Ultra program, which I believe, based upon my own personal and professional research, that NASA and that the CIA has Klansmen working under their umbrella. You know, and you know, the KKK back in the 1920s had 3 million members. Of those 3 million members, 500,000 of them were women. Now, what's ironic about these spiritual pimps is the fact that the victims of MK Ultra and COINTELPRO gang stalking today in year 2011, all the victims of these crimes all have been sexually traumatized in the physical and in the mental. These covert attacks, and these are remote covert attacks that are that the victims are experiencing with their bodies, that is being done remotely. I mean, it's just like a remote control. You know, like someone picks up a remote control and turns their TV on. That's how they do us. And as I had shared with you all over the years and just in the last year about the converter boxes on our TVs. You know, your TV was working fine. You've had your TV, you know, since the late 40s, early 50s. And then all of a sudden in year 2010, they make it mandatory that you have to have a converter box on your TV. Your TV was working fine with those rabbit ears. You still got a picture. But the purpose for that is that as the TV, as you're sitting there watching TV with that converter box, if you are a targeted individual, someone on the other side is sitting down watching you. No, literally. So when we speak of spiritual pimps, we're talking satanic, demonic, perverted, above all perverted. For these people to invade another person's privacy to such a high magnitude is satanic. It's just plain and simple. It's satanic. But as we sit here and explain this to you, and you know, I've been telling this same story 3 years, you know, bringing different people in from all over the world, coming right to this show, telling you the same thing, but have you accepted the fact that there are demonic people in our governing positions, and those that are not, that came into their position that wasn't demonic in the beginning, because they accepted their position, they became demonic soon thereafter.
And some of those people that you say are demonic, I seriously have evidence that some of those people actually are demonic.
Sincerely.
In other words, they are non-human. Non-human.
I wouldn't be surprised. Don't nothing surprise me. I'm serious. You know, and I'm not the one to step out so far as to believe as in the physical of them not being human, but I'm not closed. My door is not closed to saying that they are not.
If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, no drugs, no mind control, I was clear. And I saw someone that you know, and I'm not talking about that alien way back when years ago. I'm talking about someone that looked at me, his eyes started to glow, and his eyes projected out and went into my head. I saw, this was in broad daylight. I was moving on my bike when that happened. I slowed down and I looked at him. I went like that because he was dressed in such an odd way. And I just went like that, and when I looked up, his eyes suddenly, they were glowing. And I swear on my father's grave, that's what happened. And I'm just saying, you know, there's more to it. There's so much more. And
but see, people are so, gosh, common sense is no longer common. You got a man sitting here going the extra mile and then some to tell you something that the average human being wouldn't even believe, but where you're stuck on stupid is the fact that he's stepping out on faith to tell you something so odd. You're closing your mind. You're like, oh, he's crazy. No, people do not believe.
Not only they don't believe, but they, the ones that know are
serious.
They are not going to say a word. You know, just because I have the strength and the confidence to be able to say this because I'm not crazy.
Exactly.
You know, so I don't, it doesn't matter what you think of me.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not so weak that I'm going to crumble when you doubt me. It doesn't matter to me because I've already, you know, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Well, and what about the victims right here in the San Francisco Bay Area, or should I say from San Jose to San Francisco to Sacramento? There are over 200 victims of the MK Ultra mind control program, over 200 victims of COINTELPRO gang stalking, over 200 victims of electronic directed energy weapons. All of these crimes are done remotely, satellite and radar. And when these victims step forth, which you've seen on this show for 3 years, and they've told you about the crimes being committed against them, you're like, talk to the hand. But you know what you fail to realize is that as these demonic and satanic rituals continue to excel, you could be next on their list.
Not only that, they're doing it to us anyway.
Anyway.
Through the food.
Through the food.
Through the food.
Oh, no, not this. Start over. Let's start over. They've been doing what to us? They've been controlling us through our food. And I was going to mention that, you know, a lot of people, they don't even eat fresh foods. Yes.
You know, they're so busy going to McDonald's and Jack in the Box.
Stay away.
And then when you watch the TV, you know, they're all this, you know, mind control through advertisement, conditioning us. You know,
mind control. That's another form of mind control.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, suddenly we get thirsty and hungry, and we don't even know why. It's not because we're actually hungry.
Right. It's the thought of food.
It's just the thought of food.
I'm thinking of a chocolate fudge cake right now.
I'm just saying, you know, it's like we all are being used. You know, if society is the pimp, who is the whore? Now you tell me. That's interesting. Audience.
That's a good one. Okay.
You know.
Thank you. Thank you. Your interest and response to our last show has been tremendous. Tonight, we, once again have, as our guest, Mr. X. Self-admitted walk-in. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Read a report that you made quite a stir at the recent 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love at Golden Gate Park. What happened out there?
I guess you can say that I came out of the closet. When I appeared on stage in this body, many people thought I was brought back from the dead. Actually, the body that was buried as a clone.
That's a fantastic claim. I'm not surprised that some accuse you of being the Antichrist. The implication is that you have access to secret knowledge and secret technology.
Indeed, I do. But now is time of full disclosure. The government has been implementing a gradual program for many years.
Then perhaps you can answer a question that many of our viewers have sent in. Who killed President Kennedy?
Well, that is a misleading question because it is clear that Lee Harvey Oswald was involved in the assassination. Yet, there was a conspiracy. The most conclusive evidence is in the cover-up and disinformation that began on that fateful day. And onward. B, did you hear a gunshot?
What the hell? What are you doing up there? We seem to be having some technical difficulties. Let's pause for a break. We'll be right back in 5, 4, 3.
You know, so that's why, you know, I'm sort of, you know, some people think this is a joke, but it's not entirely a joke.
Let's read this.
Yeah.
Danger. BART police may kill you. You are a potential criminal. BART police will kill you if they decide you are a threat, even if you are handcuffed and complying with their instructions. BART cannot guarantee your safety from BART police, and therefore recommend passengers carry video recording devices and cameras at all times. Have a nice day. Where did you get this?
It's just something that
That is cute. Yeah. But you know, I need to share something with you all in reference to carrying cameras. You know, common sense is no longer common, but I'm going to still take you back. This is your fault that you allow your congressional member to get away with this crime. What we are sharing with you today is that not only is it against the law now in 13 states, I'm sorry, when Oscar Grant was killed, it was against the law in 13 states to videotape a police officer. Now I think it went up to like 30 states.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that it is. So what we are saying is all these different laws that our congressional members are voting on and allowing to pass, even Senate Bill 362, which prior to Senate Bill 362, it was legal to implant a victim, I'm going to say an individual who has been implanted with an RFID chip. Okay, Senate Bill 362, read it, read it, read it. Now you have where you can't videotape a police officer doing his job. Come on, America. We are entering a dictatorship. Is nothing, as our years progress, and just really think about this, but common sense is no longer common, okay? But just think about it, as we grow older, as the United States grows older, if things haven't gotten better, overall they've gotten worse.
Except for the 1%. They've been
Except for the 1% is doing wonderful.
Real good. Thank you very much.
You know how good they're doing? They're doing so good that not only did they bankrupt all the homeowners, then the homeowners lost their homes to the banks, okay? So the banks are sitting on the real estate property, even though it's in the red, but they're still sitting on that real estate property. Then, because we're almost borderline recession, then the president turns around and gives the same people who bankrupt us stimulus money. Okay, so they got paid twice because they not only have the property, they confiscated all these properties, these homes nationwide, but then they turned around and got stimulus money on top of that. And then look at all the other corporations who got bonuses. You know, I mean, it's totally unreal. It's unreal, but we're allowing it to happen. And the reason why we're allowing it to happen, because common sense is no longer common, and you are not speaking up. You're not stepping to the plate. Are you calling a show like this? No. But you'll call somebody crazy who got a Bush reelected a second term and the votes weren't even in. You guys need to get real and get with it. We're in a dictatorship.
And why won't those banks let some of these homeless people, see, that's why the Occupy Oakland, Berkeley, Wall Street, that's why they're so upset, because there's all this, Vallejo, 40% vacancy in downtown Vallejo.
Oh my God.
40%. I was there, I look around and it looked like a ghost town.
Wow.
And not only that, some of these places are held by people that won't sell to black people.
Exactly.
Because I checked on a place myself. There was this, it was a bank. It looked like a Roman palace or something, but it was a bank. And it's right there in
okay.
And I asked my friend, well, how much they want? He said, they only want $40,000. And I said, what? And he said, but they won't sell to any black people.
So it's a way to get around that. We just never meet them. You could be out of you could be in another state, and I'm interested in the property. Boom, you can get it.
Yeah.
I'll make it happen. If you really want to, let me know.
Well, I mean, that was just one example. There's a lot of vacancy over there. But what are we going to do? Well, see, I'll tell you, we're going to have to get up off our asses and go over there to Occupy Oakland, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy the world.
Get involved in and occupy. And if there aren't any in your neighborhood, create one. It doesn't take nothing but get a piece of cardboard box and a stick and make a sign and start walking. That's all it takes.
See, there was such a shortage of temporary housing for homeless people that you have a lot of people that don't, and it's not, they're talking about, okay, setting up an Occupy situation in one of the parks is unsafe, unsanitary, so forth.
Oh, please.
But, you know, when you're in a dorm with a bunch of people that you don't know that are from in all kinds of different psychological states and what have you, it's not safe.
Right.
And some people would rather be outside in the open than to be in one of those places. So I'm just saying that, you know, we need to start to liberate some of these buildings around here.
I'll make it happen. Here's how we can handle that. Okay, to all the homeless people in America, every city hall, facility, building, structure, put your tent up. Put your tent up and make those people get you houses. The city of Oakland, Mayor Jean Quan has been, as far as I'm concerned, you know, she's been very lenient, I have to say, my personal opinion. I mean, they did move the Occupy movement out. but at the same token, she gave them an opportunity to express themselves. Now, one thing that concerns me is that because of so many vacant buildings city to city, if you put a tent up in front of your city hall, they should get you a place. Now, I don't mean an apartment because, you know, that is very costly. But there are so many vacant buildings that it should be mandatory, make it happen with your city council. It should be mandatory that if somebody parks a tent outside of City Hall, that City Hall should get them housing because they're in that city. And especially if their driver's license or identification card is of that city. There has got to be a solution. And all the people that are outside of all of these Occupy movements, a good portion of them need housing. So why not all these vacant buildings, you make housing available. Put, you know, a room this size, you can, well, you know, the average room, you can get 4 people to the average room, you know, 2 bunk bed sets or whatever. Now, it may be a little overcrowded, but it is housing. So I say, start an Occupy movement in your area and demand to get housing.
Amen to that. I just wanted to, since we have less than 10 minutes left, about my DVD.
Okay. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Ray. Tell me about, give me some incentive as to why we should look at the book, look at your DVD. You know, tell us something.
Well, the DVD, which is right here, I work with a lot of different creative people, artists, writers, musicians, and I love to network and to collaborate on projects.
And you are a nonprofit, right?
I'm no profit.
Gosh, I don't know. Is that okay?
I'm telling you the truth.
Okay, well, tell me. You talking to the.
I spend more money than I make. That's a negative.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, you are definitely nonprofit.
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
So you are nonprofit.
Yes, yes, and
Okay.
I do work with verified nonprofit organizations. I could name a couple of them, but.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at this.
But I just wanted to mention that I wanted to present a few of these animated sequences on the show so that people can see what I'm doing. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to share also the way that you can reach Mr. Rey King, and I do suggest that you do. His website is www.talenthouse.com/Rey, R-E-Y, King, K-I-N-G. That's www.talenthouse.com/Rey King. You can reach Ray by email at the letter X, Ray, R-E-Y-E, @yahoo.com. Ray, I wanted to touch base, if I can, in reference to
the time bank. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Is that part of this is like I will put together these different products and different things, and work with people that require like an editor or.
Okay.
See what I'm saying is that there's an exchange going on. So the time bank is, I think, a great idea because you can, instead of buying and selling things using money, you use your time.
Your time. And I signed up for that today. Ray had sent me an email a couple nights ago regarding time banks. And once I read the email, I decided today that I'd sign up for it, and I did. And the time bank is, it's kind of like an exchange program.
Yeah,
it's
kind of like bartering, but it's more advanced and
more advanced.
It's more precise, and it's kind of liberating in a way.
Can I share the website with them?
Oh yeah, please do.
Okay, the website is timebank.S as in Sam, F as in Frank, B as in Bay, ACE. That's timebank.sfbace.org. Check it out.
And there's time banks
Everywhere,
all over the
yeah.
United States. So you can do a word search on the internet and you'll get plenty of information.
Great. Oh, what about the strange news from another world that you were having here, the universal formula of X equal O plus 1? Why don't you share with us about that?
Well, we're really short on time right now.
Oh, yeah, actually, we've only got 3 minutes left.
And that's like a 1-hour show right there.
Okay, well, one thing I do want to share is that, you know, Mr. Rey King is going to be back with America Needs to Know from time to time, hopefully more than less. And I really enjoy having you on the show, Ray, and I'm really looking forward to you coming back, sincerely. And one thing we do want you, as the viewer, to remember, you know, just because things sound strange don't mean that they are. I mean, these things that we're sharing with you are realities. So, you know.
The truth is stranger than fiction.
Amen. Thank you for joining us on America Needs to Know TV.
4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going to move on to another question for our guest. And that is, what is all of this talk about aliens that walk among us? Are you saying that UFOs are real?
Gosh. Are you serious? Even the government admitted, years ago, that UFOs are real.
All right. And who or what are we dealing with?
It is a phenomenon that is considered above top secret. Some are visitors, and some are residents. The ancient myths of India and the Sumerians speak extra-dimensional beings like the angels and the Elohim of the Christian Bible. Sightings and contacts have continued to this day.
Yes. That's all fine, but what about the Greys? And the anal probes?
What is this Western obsession with Greys and anal probes? Grey aliens are rare, even among Earth visitors. We've had much more contact with the Nordics and hybrids.
Well, do they hurt or what?
What?
You saying they don't hurt?
The alien probes.
Yes, the probes. The American people want to know if they hurt, or is it part of some breeding experiment?
I suggest you ask someone who had it done. There must be dozens of abductees you can ask. My anal knowledge is very limited.
I see. By the way, where do you get your information? Is it these outsiders or perhaps the internet?
I was shown how to tap into the Akashic records, the collective mind of man. At first read the work of the Theosophists, Yogananda, Aleister Crowley and the innovators of the 21st century. But then I discovered the Zooid.
What is the Zooid?
Hey, this is a talk show. If you want to know, then buy my book. The 2010 graphic novel called Strangest Story Ever Told.
Fair enough. Looks like we're out of time. Thanks and good night.